The sentence that stopped the room wasn't even loud. It just slid across the air of the Lakeview atrium like a blade and tore the music in half. Who cares what that waitress thinks? And then came the word you say when you want to make sure someone like me knows her place. 200 people in tuxes and silk froze under chandeliers shaped like ice phones, paused mid-air. Champagne went flat in a heartbeat. And up front the twins were crying, like their little worlds were falling apart, while the nanny's hands shook so hard the bottle kept flipping the wrong way. The groom, Grayson Cole, the app guy with a skyline for a trophy, stared at nothing like he'd forgotten how to move, and the bride, Sloane Avery, turned with that influencer smile that never reaches the eyes and hissed, "Get her out of here," like I was a fire alarm that wouldn't shut off. I'm Imani Wells, 24 nursing student. When the day job doesn't drown me, night staff. When the rent comes due and the fridge hums too loud. And all I knew in that moment was the sound of babies crossing from fussy to frightened. The way it changes room temperature and tugs on something inside your ribs. So I took one step, then another, and said, "I think I can help," not louder than the music, just steadier than the panic. Sloane laughed without laughing, and chewed the word help like it was cheap. "We don't need a lesson from the hired help," she said, while her eyes skimmed my uniform, like it had personally offended her. And for a second, Grayson didn't do anything at all. Then his gaze slid from his phone to the aisle to the twins and back to me, and something behind his eyes stopped calculating and started listening. "Let her try," he said barely above a whisper, and a guest in the back swallowed a laugh while a camera rose in slow motion. But I was already at the nanny's side telling her, "I've got them lifting Mira and then Micah with their little fists curled and feet kicking and faces hot, tying a silk table runner into a makeshift wrap the way my aunties taught me in kitchens that smelled like cinnamon and bleach, tucking them tight against my chest, swaying slow like a boat, finding the water's rhythm, catching the string quartet's eye, and asking with a nod for anything like a heartbeat." And the cellist answered with a low, warm line that filled the room from the floor up. Mira softened first, then Micah fought it like a tiny boxer, and finally let go. The hush that fell wasn't polite. It was real, the kind that makes you realize you'd been clenching your jaw all night. And for one clean minute, all you could hear was bow on string, breath on breath, and the room, remembering it, had a soul. I kept swaying, no speech, no chin held high like a movie hero, just a girl doing what she knew. And I watched Grayson's jaw unclench while Sloane's face turned from porcelain to glass, not relief, not even confusion, just fury cracking through the makeup. "Get those babies away from her," she snapped, voice slicing the music in half. The pastor stepped down with hands open like he was soothing a skittish horse and said, "Miss Avery, maybe consider your next words." And she turned her back to him, as if he were a coat rack, pointing at me like a stain. "She isn't family. She isn't authorized. This is a wedding, not a daycare security." And the violins faltered. A crystal branch trembled like it was nervous, too. Phones clicked once, and then in a rush, a bridesmaid whispered the kind of whisper you aim like an arrow, she's telling on herself. And the attention of the room tilted off me and landed on her. Then it got quiet, the way real decisions do. Grayson stepped off the altar like he was peeling his shoes off the floor. Walked to me and the twins and said thank you. With a voice that sounded scraped clean, "You did what none of us could," turned to the pastor and said, "There won't be a wedding today, not loud, just final," and you could feel the sound of a book closing. Sloane stretched his name into 3 syllables. People gasped like they were in a play, but no one moved to stop him, and the quartet resumed, because sometimes music knows what to do when people don't. You want to know what happened next, yeah? That happened. The clip hit 2 blogs before I'd even made it home to my gray carpet and sticky window by midnight. It was on a national gossip site with a headline that did what headlines do: "Billionaire calls off wedding. After Waitress calms his twins." And suddenly, I was brave to some people and out of line to others. My phone buzzed until it fell off the couch. I turned it off at 2 in the morning and slept like someone who had taken a punch and still stood up. And at 6:47, the building buzzer barked. The front desk said courier, heavy envelope, cream paper, that felt like money inside a neat note. Ms. Wells, if you're willing, I need help 2 weeks. I will compensate you for your time and discretion, details enclosed. GC. And on the stairs, with sunlight sneaking across chipped tile, I read an offer bigger than any paycheck I'd seen: 60 an hour, 40 hours a week, room at the penthouse if needed, start today, and then my phone, now on, lit up again with my supervisor saying, "Due to the incident, please do not report to your next shift," suspended in a bubble of blue text. Funny how a life can hinge on 2 sentences, one with ink and one with pixels, so I thought about 2 little faces relaxing against my shoulder and texted yes. The penthouse wasn't loud. With wealth, it was loud with silence, not peaceful but hollow, like an echo chamber built to impress and then swallow sound. Whole Grayson opened the door with banana on his shirt and Mira on his shoulder. "You came," he said, like relief had found him. "You said 2 weeks," I said, "let's start." And then it was bottles and burps and naps and tiny cubes of fruit so small my hand cramped a schedule pinned to the fridge like air traffic control for toddlers. White noise that worked when pride didn't. And every answer I gave came with a "you try," because the point isn't to hire help and watch. I told him the point is to show up. On day 3, the temperature fell 10 degrees when the door opened, and Sloane swept in with a publicist who smelled like money and a lawyer who looked like a watch ad. "We need to discuss what's best for my children," she purred. Grayson crossed his arms, Mira drooled on his sleeve, and I stayed in the nursery doorway with the monitor on because I wasn't looking for a fight. But I heard every word. How I was the babysitter playing mommy. How this wasn't the example to set. And then the elevator closed, and the publicist, not noticing the red light blinking on the hallway camera, said, "We just need this to look good for court. Then we'll get a nanny who knows her place." That sentence would end up mattering more than any apology scripted under a ring light. Court isn't dramatic the way TV sells it. It's wood and fluorescent hum, and people trying not to breathe too loud while their lives get measured. I sat in the back because no one required me, and the twins didn't know what testimony meant. Sloane's attorney told a story about a misunderstood mother and an image-obsessed father and a caregiver who blurred boundaries. They showed photos with moist eyes and captions about longing. And then Grayson's side pressed play. The hallway camera gave us the truth. In her own voice, the nursery monitor added an offhand line about leverage. The pediatrician, Dr. Patel, spoke in clean sentences about weight gain and milestones and emotional regulation. The daycare director described logs and safety checks and the kind of consistency you can't fake. And the judge looked over her glasses and kept her voice even temporary. Custody remains with Mr. Cole. Supervised visitation for Ms. Avery contingent on parenting classes and counseling. Gavel down draft, sealed. People think that's where a story ends. You sign papers and call it closure. But the real ending looks like mourning. Who's making oatmeal? Who's packing diapers? Who's learning Goodnight Moon by heart? And that's how the penthouse softened glass swapped for soft edges. A reading corner built from pillows and thrifted shelves, finger paintings replacing abstract names that stretched longer than a toddler's. Nap nights became bath time and bottle time and story time. Not glamorous, not viral, just presence layered until it felt like breathing. He asked me to stay, and he did it without the language of titles, not staff. He said, "Not charity, part of this." And I told him I wasn't here to fill in for anyone or be saved good, he said, because I'm not offering either, and the open door was born. What came next wasn't PR, it was need. I kept meeting parents at the clinic and the park who didn't have a safe crib or a sitter or a map for the day. So we put a spreadsheet on a table and brewed bad coffee and opened a small storefront on the south side, painted it a color that felt like mourning, hired 3 caregivers at a living wage, stocked diapers and formula, and tiny socks that make you cry for no reason, called it Open Doors. Where small hands grow and tired hearts exhale, some called it a passion project. I call it a map back to yourself when the world has convinced you you're a detour. And here's where the debate always sparks. Was Grayson right to call off a wedding? In front of everybody, is Sloane a villain or a product of a machine that rewards performance over care? Did social media save 2 kids or pour gasoline on a private fire? I can only tell you what crisis taught me. It strips polish. It shows wiring. It asks whether you'll shrink or stand steady. I stood steady, and 2 babies put their heads on my shoulder like it was the most obvious place in the world. You know what I mean? If this story hit you somewhere tender, tell me why. Was it the moment the music returned, the camera catching what words wanted to hide the gavel saying, "Presence matters more than optics," or the quiet nights where no one was filming? And that's exactly where the good work lives. Drop your city in the comments. Tell me what you would have done, argue with me if you need to. Yeah, that happened, and we can talk. Like people who've seen a thing or two, then share this with someone who's been holding everything together without applause, and hit subscribe. If you believe the better thing is usually the quieter one, the one you choose when no one is clapping. I read every comment, even the spicy ones. So let's hear it. Right or wrong bias or grace, what did you see?